Hi everybody, my name is Kim Huett and I am your instructor in EDUC 2110 this fall. I'm very excited to be working with you guys, and we're pretty much 100% online, and I think that I've put together a pretty good class for you along with the help of Phoebe Valentine, my co-teacher this semester. I am the teacher of record, just so you have that clear. If big issues arise, make sure I'm in the loop. But Phoebe is going to be an excellent co-teacher this semester, helping me to monitor discussion board, the Google community where you guys will be posting your blogs and things like that. She'll help do some grading. She'll be here to help answer questions, and she'll probably help in ways that I can't even foresee. But if you watch her welcome video that she made, you'll see that she's an online doctoral student here at West Georgia, but she's coming from Chicago, and she's a fantastic secondary math teacher at her school up there in Chicago. And part of her learning trajectory, I imagine, you have to ask her yourself, is to learn how to teach online. So she's going to be scrutinizing what I do, and so I'm a little bit on the hot plate here as well, because I'm not perfect. And so she's giving me a lot of good feedback for how I can make things better. She's already helped make some improvements. Anyway, this is my welcome video at me, right? So you can watch Phoebe's welcome video. I am excited to be co-teaching with her. Quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about my own education. I got my bachelor's in English and Spanish, a double major. Then I went on to get a master's in secondary education. And then I got my EDS in instructional technology, graduated with that, I think, in 2011. And then I just finished my doctorate in school improvement here at University of West Georgia. So really excited about that. Did my study on the BYOT, Bring Your Own Technology phenomenon, in a middle grades science classroom. I was looking at the extent to which you can use these handheld BYOT devices for student-centered learning. I mean, sure, you can learn things from your devices, but can you facilitate what we call student-centered learning? So that was what I was looking at. So glad that's finished. So let's see here. What else? I've taught 6 years in K-12, started as a 7th grade language arts teacher. That was sort of a desperate post that I landed in. Did not want to be in middle school. Did not do very well. So I have great empathy for any fears you may have about your first placement, whether you're placed as a teacher or you're placed as an SLP, because wherever you're placed, if you're new, if it's the first time, it's scary. And sometimes it's scary for good reason. I was not totally qualified, which is why, as a result, I have a great appreciation for teacher preparation and how important it is to try to learn as much as you can at this point. And when I say teacher preparation, I also mean speech-language pathology preparation. Part of our responsibility with you guys in this program, you SLPs, is to make sure you're ready for the school environment. Granted, half or more of you may not think you're ever going to be in the school, but part of what your degree says, I think, is that you are going to be... Sorry, I'm distracted. My computer's doing things behind me and I get distracted easily, which is why I teach online and prefer that. But part of what your SLP certification and degree will say is that you are prepared to function in that school-based environment. And so that is the emphasis of this course. Sometimes I say teachers, but I try to be inclusive and say, or speech-language pathologists. I'm talking about all of you guys, okay? But I don't forget that there are differences between teachers and speech-language pathologists. But I do have great empathy for you as you embark on your first year, as you embark on your first field experiences too. Those can be stressful. And so the more you can learn right now and open your mind and push yourself, and actually push yourself maybe out of your comfort zone now while you're still in school, probably the better for your career and for those first few years that are, pretty crazy. Though I bet mine was crazier than most. All right, so I also taught 12th grade English. That was my second year. That's more of where I wanted to be. And then I moved over to high school Spanish for 3 years, including teaching online for the Texas Virtual School. Got really excited about online learning. That was about 2006 that I started getting trained for that. And I've been teaching online at West Georgia since 2007. So I've taught when I began, it was really blended. I taught face-to-face in schools for 6 years. I also taught online for Texas Virtual School. That was Spanish. And I have taught for 7 years at West Georgia, mostly the technology integration in the classroom class. You guys are lucky because I've lightened up the technology load for this semester, but I do believe in trying to use as many tools as you can to facilitate online interactions and things like that. But it is a simpler set of tools for this fall than it was past spring. But you know, I'm not scared of technology, which is good. Sometimes your online teachers, you know, maybe a little more on the scared side, and then it's hard, and they try to get you to use things that they might not even know how to use, and you know, you're not going to find that to be the case with me. So I can, you know, if you have a question about the technology, let me know. Certainly if you have a question about CourseDen, I can ponder the question, but I think it's most useful if you call UWG online. All right, so what else do I want to talk about? I'm looking at my little list here. So I have taught for 7 years at West Georgia. I just entered the assistant professor role. I'm excited about that. Now I have to formulate a stronger research agenda than I've had in the past. That's going to require some focus, and I think what I'm going to look at is computer science education and how maybe everybody needs to have some computer science education. Everybody from K through 12, all teachers should have a little bit of knowledge of why it's important and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm sort of leaning towards. I've got 3 kids, a 21-year-old, Caleb. He just graduated from the University of Georgia this summer and is now selling phones for a Verizon-like store. I've got a daughter in the 6th grade, a son in the 4th grade. They're both at Carrollton. And a dog named Bogart. And I'm looking at this slideshow that I made in previous years, and I just can't find it. Otherwise, you'd be looking at these fantastic pictures. Actually, I can show you. This is going to be really low-tech and awkward, but here they are. Aren't they cute? Now, those are really old pictures of all of them. So what's this class about? This class is, the main point of it is to try to pull you in thinking about educational issues. And when you think about educational issues, they cross-cut, so they're cross-cutting. They hit on all kinds of things. They hit on politics and economics and deeply ingrained issues in our society and, you know, racism, diversity. I mean, these issues stem from all kinds of things, so they're complex. So we can't cover everything, obviously, and we probably can't solve all the world's problems. But we can take steps towards becoming more well-rounded in our understanding of some specific issues. So what I try to do, I actually try to focus you guys. Rather than say, hey, we're going to take the world tour of 50 different issues, we really focus on 6 broad issue areas. We do sort of focus more and more each session. And then I also let you pick one issue of your choice to focus on in a Hot Topics in Education project. But the basic idea, just to give you a quick rundown, in the first session, this very first session, we kind of look at the United States and its placement in the world, like its reputation, and you know how you're always hearing that the U.S. is ranking so badly against other nations, etc., etc. We'll be looking at that a little bit. We'll get to go inside of the Finnish school system through a series of videos that I think are really good, and get to see how they do things a little bit differently. A lot of what you see will be familiar, but a lot of it will be a little bit different. So I want you to think about those differences and learn a little bit about how the rankings for the U.S. Among nations works. And so we're looking internationally. And then from there, all the way to the very end of the class, the end point, and I'll tell you about the middle in just a second, but the end point is after you've gone through all these issues, what do you think the ideal school should be like? You know, we've explored all this stuff, so that's our end point. We'll be getting there. So your opinion, that's where you're headed. So I want you to be thinking, like when you look at the video of the Finnish school, I want you to ask yourself, do they have some qualities that we lack in the U.S. that I'd like to see in my ideal school? So be collecting that kind of in the back of your mind. Don't worry about that too much. That time will come in session 6. So from session 1, so session 1's international perspectives. Session 2, we kind of look at the big picture issues in education on the federal level in the United States. And you probably are aware that in the United States, it's hard to talk about our education system as one system because we have, 50 states and, other places like Washington, D.C. that have their own education systems. So they're all different. They all have different rules. They have a lot in common too. I mean, you can go from state to state and put your, go through the school systems, and there's a lot in common. but it's still hard to sometimes compare what's going on across states because there are some major differences across states. So, so what we do before we delve into state level stuff, or before we bother going into like later on, we're going to go talk about BYOT in the Georgia context. Before we go down to that level, we're up here at the top federal level, and there are some big federal initiatives that do matter and do impact us on that state level. So we kind of examine those. Then in session 3, we look at poverty and education. This is one of those, probably one of the most important cross-cutting issues, you know, and I thought, let's take a moment to think about this. This is, you know, there's a lot there. You could have a whole class on poverty and education, quite honestly, but we take one session for it. Then we move on to session 4 to approaches to curriculum. This is partly due, so I got to pick a little bit what we're going to talk about this semester, but we're going to kind of talk about the Common Core in that session, which is an important initiative that's, you know, cutting across the whole United States, and how it's received in Illinois, for example, where Phoebe's at versus where we're at here in Georgia. The differences are interesting, and maybe you can talk to her about what she's noticed with those differences. Then we're going to move on in session 5 to talking about a specific technology initiative, which is Bring Your Own Technology, which I've already mentioned previously, and that sort of ties directly to one of the course objectives, and I thought that's a good recent technology-related sort of issue that we're facing in Georgia. You know, why are we doing BYOT? What do we know about it? Was it implemented using any evidence at all that it might be successful? And the answer to that's probably no. That's okay, because sometimes when you innovate, you don't have full information. You just got to try things. But anyway, we're going to explore it as an issue. And then, like I said earlier, the 6th issue is the ideal school. So what do you, given all of these things we've kind of looked at, you know, you've kind of pushed yourself in these various areas, you've gotten some frameworks sort of fleshed out or maybe further refined. You may already know a lot of this stuff. But given all of that, what are your thoughts about how we should design schools? I think that's an important question for you to ask. Also throughout that, like I've said earlier, I think, or maybe that was in the syllabus video, you'll be creating your own philosophy of education. You will be pondering ethics in your field, whether it's teaching or speech-language pathology. You will explore a specific hot topic in education, and you will do a 10-hour field experience in a setting that's related to education or to your speech-language pathology field. Something that helps you to become a better observer of people in these sort of programmed settings. So like educational programs, or the soup kitchen program, or the comprehensive community clinic programming, just social programs that are meant to help people. That's kind of the idea of field experiences. There's 10 hours in each of your 3 so there's 3 EDUC classes, right? There's 10 hours of field experience in each of those EDUC classes. As I mentioned, the syllabus, which I hope you will read, and or you will watch my syllabus video, which is just a terrible 35 minutes long. I actually embed 5 hours of field experiences into the online portion of the class, but you actually have to do them, and you have to acknowledge that you did them for the credit. But you do have 5 hours that I have provided, which means technically you only have to go out and seek 5 of your own hours. We will talk about the field experience in more detail in session 2. So if you don't hear a lot about it in session 1, don't worry, it's coming. But in session 1, I really just want you guys to get oriented. And because I provide 5 hours for you, there's a little bit less of a hurry for you to jump on it and get going with it, okay? So hold tight, but you can be thinking about those types of places you can go to learn about human programming, social programs, things that tie into teaching, that tie into our community. Maybe they cut into issues of poverty. Maybe maybe it's an after-school program. But we'll have time to talk about all of that. But you can be thinking about it right now if you want. So that kind of tells you about the class. It's an issues class. Again, the point being to make yourself a little bit better rounded, because we can't all know everything. We can't know everything about a given issue. No matter how much you study and learn, there's always more to know. But you can become more well-rounded There's a good chance that you come to this class with some preconceived notions about various things. Well, we all carry these notions around. We have our current, most up-to-date notions of, a variety of things. But there's a good chance that as you push yourself to read and view videos and all of the materials that we provide in here, that you can deepen and broaden and strengthen your perspectives so that when you go into the school setting, you're that much better at your practice. I really look forward to working with all of you this semester. I look forward to having Phoebe in with us. She's kind of pumping me up to, it's a little more exciting than usual, I guess. I've never co-taught before. We do have a blog that we're blogging on together. I'll probably share that a little later on in the class, maybe through the course news feed. If you're curious, you guys can lurk and watch what we talk about on there. We've already made a few posts, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thank you so much, and let me know if you have any questions. The next thing you need to do, this is a good thing to end on, is go into inside of CourseDen. Actually, if you're watching this video, you're already here. You're in the content area. Make sure you do all of the orientation activities. So if I have something called orientation module or orientation session, I think I'm calling it the module right now. Doesn't matter. Do all of the orientation things. That's like look at your syllabus, read the syllabus, check out the course plan. I'll even go in here and be really specific. What am I talking about? Sorry, my kid's school bus arrives in just a minute down the street. But let me look and just be really clear. So through that content button, you want to go into the orientation module. You want to watch Phoebe's welcome video. You want to make sure you know how to unblock content in CourseDen. So here's what happens. This is one of the most important orientation messages I can give you. Sometimes your content is blocked by your web browser when you're in CourseDen. So you might not be able to see things that your professors in classes, including mine, but also in other classes, you might not be able to see things they're posting. So you need to learn how to unblock hidden content. I'm going to try to embed a tutorial everywhere in the first module, in the orientation module, and the session 1 module. I'll try to, provide the, hey, have you watched this video on how to make your blocked content visible? If you see anything about blocked content, visible, invisible, make sure you're really aware of it, because each browser has a slightly different way of letting you unblock. You want things unblocked so you can access your work. All right, I'm really rambling, but I do want to tell you, in the orientation module, make sure you go through all these things. You're aware of our upcoming optional class meetings. I do want you to RSVP for those. You can post questions to the course questions and answers board. Give me your contact information, get your D2L, your CourseDen profile set up. You're going to join our Google community. You're going to introduce yourself to the class in that first discussion board, and you're going to set up your blog for the course. And if you do these things here in the first 3 or 4 days, the rest of the semester will go so much better. The problem will be if you decide to skip on to session 1 and you don't do this stuff here, then you don't have that sort of foundational setup that you need. Okay? All right, enough said. This is a way too long video, and I think you get the message. But welcome to the class. Oh, I thought I hit stop.